Roznama will basically only be covering up with respect to the shortage of LNG or liquefied natural gas that we basically and piped natural gas that we basically use at home. You must be seeing in your houses that your fathers or your mothers, they're all going berserk for booking CNG cylinders for your homes. So why is that necessitated? Why has that become a necessity is only because of the present crisis in West Asia and the closing of the Strait of Hormuz. All right. So although there is shortage, we have a respective buffer of 30 days when it comes to LNG, PNG, 10 days when it comes to petroleum, and 88 days when it comes to coal. All right. So as of now, although bookings are very difficult, but still the union minister for petroleum, he has come out and he said that crude supply is secure. Crude here again implies crude oil. No shortage of fuel as of now. However, because of the crisis in West Asia, it is of utmost necessity that priority is given to cooking fuel or cooking gas in households. All right. So again, what you have to keep in mind that we are currently facing shortages of LNG and PNG, the cooking fuel that we use at home, and there is no such shortage for crude oil, that is petroleum and diesel that we use. And the Union Minister of Petroleum, that is Hardeep Singh Puri. Okay. And he's also said that the opposition parties, they are unnecessarily spreading rumors saying that there is significant shortage of crude oil in the country. So he's actually asked the opposition members not to unnecessarily spread rumors in the country and create a state of panic. Okay. All right. Then day before yesterday, the motion that was picked up for the removal of the Speaker of the Lok Sabha, Om Bilra, it was defeated and he has reinstated his office. And when he's come back to his office, he's actually thanked everybody who stood in support of him and all the people who had actually offered good constructive criticism to him, who had actually supported the removal motion. And he's basically made statements saying that he's willing to make improvements, and he's also issued statements saying that every MP, every member of the parliament, every member of the Lok Sabha will be given the right to speak and voice their opinions in the Lok Sabha as per the rules. And he is the speaker and he knows his duties of office, that he's supposed to be non-partisan in while functioning as the keeper of order and decorum in the Lok Sabha. All right. So this is an article from the Indian Express. This one was from the Hindu. Do go through it to get a basic understanding. It also gives you a detail into how the speaker is removed, which we've already discussed in the past sessions. All right. Then we got the new leader, the new Ayatollah of Iran that got elected, and his name is Mujtaba Khamenei. Although we are also seeing news, certain reports which suggest that he's been injured in a certain attack by US and Israel, and he's as of now under expert observances, that is under the charge of doctors and a medical team. However, since he attained office, he's also seen to be very rigid, and he seemed to be more rigid than his father. His father was supposed to be more of a moderate person, but he is believed to be a little more rigid than his father. And he has issued a statement saying that the Strait of Hormuz is going to be will be closed, is going to remain shut, and has also asked US that US must stop bombing of Iran, must stop using all of their military bases in countries surrounding Iran, or otherwise the attacks are going to continue and the Strait of Hormuz will be shut. All right. Now, Strait of Hormuz is shut, and yesterday we did see a news where the Iranian forces attacked a merchant ship that was set to board in Kandla in Gujarat, and it was a Thailand-based ship. All right. So since then, there were certain tensions between the countries of Southeast Asia and Iran, and also because now India is considerably facing shortages of gas. So India has undertaken talks with Tehran to facilitate movement of natural gas to India. All right. However, in further articles, we will see that the External Affairs Minister has actually said that we are, as of now, in the beginning stages of talks between the two countries. So it is very early to give a formal statement saying that what actually is coming out of these respective talks. All right. Other than that, our Prime Minister has also spoken to his counterpart in Iran, the President of Iran, Masoud Pezeshkian, and he's also showed deep concern over the entire chaos and violence that is right now, as of now, occurring in West Asia. And he's called for quick quicker settling of disputes between the countries in West Asia. All right. And also because LPG has been is seeing a hit because of the closing of Strait of Hormuz, the government has outlined the use of kerosene and coal as alternative options to facilitate cooking at home. All right. Yes, then again, the same statement by Mojtaba Khamenei, the new one, and he said that the Strait of Hormuz is going to be shut until unless US stops its attacks on Iran. All right. Then US still yesterday did say that like a few days back, Donald Trump had issued a statement where Donald Trump had basically said that they have destroyed everything that they needed to in Iran, and now they are thinking of a regime change in Iran. But that naturally, clearly, that did not happen. And now the US intelligence is actually suggesting that the war is nowhere near its conclusion, and naturally it can extend for a further period, further duration. And they've also suggested that the entire purpose of this attack, which was to bring about a regime change in Iran, naturally did not happen. And a new Ayatollah was elected shortly after the death of the assassination of the previous Ayatollah. And when a new Ayatollah has already been brought into existence, so naturally the entire agenda of bringing about a regime change was not fulfilled, and hence there is no indication showing that Iran government may collapse anytime soon. Okay, so it's very ironical that that entire purpose for which USA had actually undertaken this attack in Iran has naturally and very clearly not been served. Okay, then both the countries, they have naturally issued major threats against each other, saying that none of them are going to back down, and Iran also is absolutely not backing down and is willing to continue with the war. Other than that, Israel also undertook attacks on Beirut in Lebanon, and which has resulted in killing of a significant number of Hezbollah people. Hezbollah is again an anti-Israel group that is based in Lebanon. Okay. All right, then again, the same thing. Iran said that Iran is going to shut the Strait of Hormuz, and has also asked that only those ships can pass through the Strait of Hormuz who negotiate with Iran and actually take the side of Iran. All right, as of now, there are very few countries who are taking sides of Iran. So Iran is saying that they are willing to let ships pass through it, provided they coordinate with Iran. All right, then a resolution was adopted in the United Nations Security Council against the security of other countries in the West Asian region, which were being bombed by Iran. So this resolution has been backed by India, and India has been a co-sponsor in this entire resolution against Iran. Now, in this resolution, India has not outrightly condemned, has not outrightly, shown any has not taken any stance which is against Iran. But India has co-sponsored this resolution in the sense that India has a lot of diaspora which are working in the West Asian region, in the Gulf countries. And very recently, last month only, India had major talks and signing of pacts with the GCC, that is the Gulf Cooperation Council. And in lieu of these interests of India in West Asia, India has called for immediate cessation of the war in Iran, and has also condemned Iranian attacks on other countries of the Gulf region, because it is negatively impacting India and Indian diaspora living in the Gulf region. Okay, so that was the basic purpose that India has undertaken sponsoring of this resolution against Iran. Okay. Also, the same article that was just a few slides back, that the Prime Minister has spoken to the President in Iran and he's shown concern, and he's called for quick cessation of dispute there. All right. Okay. Then the United States of America, it has undertaken probe against India, China, and 14 other countries. Why? Because naturally now, since the reciprocal tariffs that Donald Trump had imposed on other countries, has been scrapped by the Supreme Court of the United States of America. So, US, and the purpose of imposing those reciprocal tariffs by US was simply that that a large number of countries, they had trade surplus with US, while US was suffering from a trade deficit. So to tackle this trade deficit between US and other countries, what US actually did was that US implemented reciprocal tariffs. Now the reciprocal tariffs have been scrapped, and invoking the Trade Act of 1974, US can maximum, the president can maximum implement a tariff of 15%, and that too also for a maximum number of 150 days. So he has to do something to root out the surplus trade that US is having with other countries, and that is why, to look deeper into the matter, US has launched probes against 14 countries, against 16 countries, along with India and China, who have trade surplus with the United States of America. Okay. All right. Then it was in news for a few days back, actually during the time of the birth anniversary of Subhash Chandra Bose, that is during Parakram Divas. It was during this that particular period that the daughter of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, she had asked for bringing back the ashes and remains of Netaji from Japan to India. However, the members of the Forward Bloc, the organization which is established by Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, they had said that let his ashes and remains remain in India, remain in Tokyo, in Japan, and let us not bring it back. All right. So 8 decades after he disappeared, his daughter has bagged the Supreme Court's plea also to bring back the ashes of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose from Tokyo. Also, please remember that it is Renko-ji Temple in Tokyo, which houses the remains and ashes of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. All right. Okay. Then Beijing has adopted a new ethnic unity law, and as per this law, they have called that the entire population, which is actually mostly dominated by the Han Chinese, and also now the entire country will have one particular language, which is Mandarin. So Mandarin and Han Chinese, they make up only about 8.9% of the total population of the country, and through this particular law, the Chinese government is giving recognition to only the Han Chinese people and not to other ethnic minority communities, which is naturally degrading or eroding the minority rights in China. Okay. Then coming to the editorials, this particular editorial again calls for the entire hypocritical stance that the Supreme Court had undertaken against the NCERT, going to the extent of asking education communities, institutions to distance themselves from a group of people, from that organization, which actually includes texts and write-ups into the NCERTs, just because the judiciary was called corrupt in a class 8 NCERT. So the article moves forward saying things like the judiciary has taken a massively hypocritical stance, because when fingers were pointed against the judiciary, pointed on the judiciary, then the judiciary was very quick to take such steps, got it removed from the textbooks, even called back circulations of the textbook. But when things were, brought down into the NCERT with a very bigotry vision, bringing in eroding principles of fraternity from the country and increasing fundamentalism in the country by citing the Mughal rulers, all of them being very, very oppressive in nature and actually not giving due recognition to the liberal policies of Akbar and such Mughal rulers, and only glorifying the Hindu rulers as per the political party's narrative. Then the Supreme Court did not intervene because naturally fraternity, being a basic structure of the constitution, was also being hindered. But the Supreme Court did not intervene then. The Supreme Court only intervened when the fingers were pointed towards the Supreme Court. All right. So a very wonderful article talks about the hypocrisy of the Supreme Court. Do go through it. Then the next one is, it's basically a question answer that has been given here today, and it is in terms of India's entire political stance with respect to everything that is happening in the West Asian region. So the article actually talks about that why or how maybe India and its entire non-aligned stance that India is taking with respect to the political crisis in West Asia is maybe because it is influenced by the United States of America. India still is anticipating certain concessions, and it was after much difficulty that we did sort of strike an interim trade deal with USA. So now again India maybe does not wish to upset the United States of America. Then also the article talks about our Prime Minister's visit to Israel, that Israel undertook killing of a large number of the entire Israel-Iran war did undertake killing of a large number of people in Gaza. But then also India did take a very non-aligned stance and did not kept on abstaining from voting. Now when this particular resolution was taken up in the United Nations Security Council condemning Iranian attack, then India was quick to respond. So it gives us a pretty mixed signal as to what is India's entire political stance in terms of West Asia, and is it only because India is too much influenced by the United States of America. All right. Then this article gives us a good understanding into the participation of women in democracy or in the democratic processes of India, specifically in electoral voting. And it basically shows that how in 1952, when we did have the first elections, the participation of women was very less, very meager, and now it has increased, and to such an extent that they have even outnumbered men. All right. So post-independence, the article basically says that post-independence electoral participation showed clear gender disparities, that women were much lower in number as voters as compared to others, as compared to men. Although women were formally included in the electoral process, their turnout remained lower than that of men. They did not even go to cast their vote. All right. Now, as we approach new elections that have recently taken place, we do see a stark increase in the number of women who are not only included in the electoral rolls but also come out to cast their votes. All right. So it gives you a good understanding into the entire, in numeric terms, that how the inclusion and participation of women in the democratic process has increased. All right. Okay. Then this particular article again talks about the NCRT problem, the entire NCRT fiasco, and how the Supreme Court, while delisting the entire content and has and holding liable all the people who were involved in citing the judiciary as corrupt, has actually done itself a disservice, because now they've actually drawn greater attention to the fact that how corrupt the judiciary actually is. Okay. All right. Then okay, then this article again is a take on the 2-day back judgment on permitting passive euthanasia for Harish Rana. And it also says that although the Supreme Court, while permitting passive euthanasia for Harish Rana, did invoke Article 21, where they say that Article 21 calls for right to life, which includes not only right to life with dignity but also right to die with dignity. Okay, so this article gives us a good understanding into that how, when we talk about a life of dignity, we should also take into account the ethics of letting go. Okay, so do go through it. It's a good one. Then this particular article talks about, it is actually a for and against article. One is let's talk protection and not control, and the other is ban cannot address full spectrum of risks. So these articles have come out in light of several southern states like Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh, etc., who have called for not a ban but a regulation of social media for children of a certain age, basically 16 years and below, taking cue from certain countries like Australia, who have already put in this ban. Australia and New Zealand have already put in this ban. So both the articles give a good viewpoint, and they basically say that when we are talking about banning or limiting the use of social media for children belonging to certain age group, it naturally seems very nice on paper, but there are instances, as we can see in Australia, as we can see in New Zealand, that children can maneuver against the laws. They can fill in incorrect ages and everything. Then the article also says that one of the major problems that a lot of parents are facing these days is that limiting the screen time of their children, and a lot of children, they start getting affected in terms of their their social life, and they also start suffering from mental problems, disorders, because of too much addiction to social media. They start facing FOMO, etc. So they've actually said that instead of calling out a full ban, maybe the government could invest more in terms of promoting digital literacy and digital education for the children as well as their parents, who can better guide their children as to resist the entire addiction of social media. Okay, so good article, do go through it. Okay, this particular article basically says, and why did I take it up, is only to flag the no fault clause for you all. So when the COVID pandemic hit the country, to overcome the pandemic, the government had rolled out a vaccination drive for everybody. Now, the vaccination drive was technically a voluntary drive, that it was up to your own will that you wanted to, that if you wanted to get vaccinated, you may, otherwise you could skip it. But then there were certain other administrative restrictions, like if you had to enter your school, you had to have the vaccination certificate. If you were to go access any public place, you had to have your vaccination certificate. If you had to travel by government transports, airports, etc., then naturally you had to have a vaccination certificate, which naturally made it mandatory for everybody to get themselves vaccinated. All right. Now, in this entire vaccination drive, there were many instances which showed us that a lot of people in the sense, they've given us a figure as to 0.001% per 1 lakh doses in India, they lost their lives due to complications because of vaccination. All right. So when such things happen, it was a government program. So naturally, the government is supposed to provide compensation against such deaths. So now, as for the Supreme Court, or as per the Supreme Court's order, the Supreme Court said that it will not be the liability of the family of the deceased to ensure and to provide a certification, provide proof showing that their family member has actually died due to some mishap caused due to the vaccination drive. It is their right, and they must be given the money that is supposed to be given to them, and this will be given due recognition under Article 21 of the Constitution. Okay. Then again, the same article talks about that oil reserves are sufficient as of now with India. We have a buffer for 30 days, and also we are, a lot of diversion of oil from Russia has taken place into India, and we are fairly fine with oil reserves. The major concern is the liquefied natural gas, because a large chunk of LNG is not only exported into India, but elsewhere also imported into India, but elsewhere also globally is from the West Asian region, and specifically through the Strait of Hormuz. Okay. And then coming to the news in brief. Now, this particular article just wanted to flag for you all, because the Chinese government had a program which is known as border defense villages, also known as under this border defense villages or model villages. What the Chinese government actually sought to do was to develop villages along the LAC with India as well-off villages, which in Chinese terminology is known as Shaokang, all right? And the Chinese government has been successful in developing 628 Shaokangs along the LAC. And in retaliation to this, the Indian government also undertook a program which was Vibrant Village Program. The first one was brought out in 2023, the second one in 2025, and the second one has been formally implemented in 2026, okay? And under the Vibrant Village Program, the government seeks to develop border villages along the border with China, so as to the people living along the border regions do not develop separatist tendencies, and they do not wish to they don't develop such thoughts that they may be better off in as being a part of China. Okay, so do go through this article, it is important. The scheme is very important, that is why the article I picked up. Okay. Then just wanted to flag Kashi Ram for you all. Kashi Ram's birth anniversary is on 15th of March, and he is the founder of Bahujan Samaj Party, Samajwadi Party, Bahujan Samaj Party, and as of now BSP, and as of now the party is headed by Mayawati, and is also his nephew Akash, also her nephew Akash. So he is the face of, he's a major Dalit face in the politics of UP, Uttar Pradesh, and he has always been that one face over which BSP has vouched its entire electoral base. Now also Congress government is trying to play along him, and so are other parties as well. Only why? Because now the BJP has brought in things like the socio-economic caste census, which was also something that was ideated by the Congress only in the last election manifesto. So now everybody is fighting over the identity of Kashi. Okay, so do keep it in mind. All right, so that was all for today's newspaper analysis, and I'll see you soon with the next one. Thank you.